Wednesday conversation on Zoom with Coach Mike Hopkins of the men's basketball Huskies, who's getting dunked on virtually by Nas Carter right now. How's that feel, Coach? You're being posterized.
I'm being posterized. He's got some hops, and I love this picture. And so we have this, find a backdrop, and I got it. And it's nothing like being dunked on by an elite athlete. I would have fouled him if I was playing. There was no way he would have done this.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember you as a player, you're probably leaning in and making sure that he's going to have to earn it at the free throw line.
Yeah, he would never have gotten that far.
All right, well, let's start by just asking how you're doing. This is obviously very strange times. What's going on in the Hopkins household?
Well, we've tried to stay with the schedule, just like, everything's normal. And so, the kids are, they doing virtual school and, learning a little bit how to homeschool, not per se like we're teaching, but making sure that they're on their schedules and that they're up and try to get them scheduled. And we've got some weights in the garage so we can stay active. We've got a trampoline outside and an area to walk near the house. So we've been trying to stay active that way. I went back to old P90X,
nice.
The original one, trying to get in shape. And, you can sweat in a small area where you don't need a lot of space. So that's been really good. And, just spending great quality time with the family.
I hate it, but I love it, right? Isn't that the old phrase?
I hate it, but I love it. Do your best and forget the rest.
Do your best and forget the rest. 100%.
The Drea roll.
Yeah, I remember those. Spent a lot of time with Tony. I want to get your story about what experiencing that day on Wednesday at the Pac-12 tournament was like for you, because obviously we played. And as soon as the game was over, I changed my flight. I booked it to the airport and got on a flight home to Seattle. And by the time I landed, the NBA was canceled. The next morning, every college basketball game was canceled. The NCAA tournament was canceled. It was a surreal experience in the college basketball world. What was it like for you coming out of coaching that first round game against Arizona and then watching all the dominoes fall?
Well, it was interesting. Before, when we were at our practice, you had a practice session at the arena. They give you 30, 45 minutes to go and you shoot. And, a couple of the main guys that run the tournament, we were just sitting and talking, and Jamie Zavanovich was there. And, there was just so much uncertainty and unknown. But at the time, we're like, the tournament's going to go on, and feel good about that. It was the first time that I started, like, I'm a hugger and a high fiver. Next thing you know, I'm kind of doing some elbows.
Yeah.
Do the foot tap and got the practice in, came back, we played the early game. Unfortunately, came up a little bit short. After the game, we were discussing what time we had flights the next day, and we were supposed to leave at 8. Let's leave at 4. It's been a long season. Maybe we can, the kids can sleep in, have a good meal, see their families that are there for the tournament. I went with my children and my brother to dinner over at the MGM, and we literally were sitting there having a great dinner, talking about the game and the season and just, everything that a coach thinks about after a game. And next thing you know, you're looking on the TV right in front of you, and it's, Rudy Gobert contracts coronavirus, and literally the dominoes just fell. And it was literally then it was canceling the NBA, and I've never seen anything like it. So the next thing you know, I'm calling our administrators, talking about, we got to get on that 8:00 flight. And so we just got to get out of here. There were so many rumors where SeaTac was going to close down. There was just all these rumors. So let's just, whatever we can do, we just got to get back. And everybody was up at 6. We got to the airport, got on the plane, got back. And from then on, I think there was a lot of uncertainty still. A lot of our players were scared. A lot of them were from the East Coast. Families were scared. And so we were just trying to get as much information as possible. And we also, when they made the decision about, school wasn't going to, we were in spring break, and school was going to be remote. We just wanted them to get home to their families, and we had a meeting and in the arena and spaced out everybody. And Pat Jenkins, our great trainer, spoke to them about the coronavirus, about washing their hands and what's happening, as much as we knew at that time, trying to educate these guys. And then the administration allowed us to send them home. And so we got them and their families, and it was kind of such a fluid situation. We were just trying to educate them and connect with them as much as possible. But scary stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And no one really knows exactly the right way to react, right? Because we're all kind of in uncharted waters at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was uncharted waters. Again, we were just getting the information as much as possible. I originally had wanted everybody to kind of stay, just because his family, you want to be able to help somebody. And we have probably one of the best hospitals in the country, let alone, right on your campus, and some of the best doctors. And during something like this, you want to be able to have access to that if something was to go down. But we also felt that families wanted their children to be close anytime you go through this thing. And so that was our first and foremost, was their safety, was to get them home with their families.
The NCAA tournament, it's sacred in the basketball world. And,
Mm-hmm.
I started to do the research on it once they canceled it. And I was like, man, this thing goes back to 1939. And even through World War II, they still played the NCAA tournament, and
Mm-hmm.
even when the NBA has its work stoppages or whatever, there's still the NCAA tournament. And the fact that the NCAA tournament didn't exist in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
how did that resonate with you as a lifer in the college basketball world?
Again, I'm sitting there, they're talking about Rudy Gobert having it, and then they're saying they're canceling the NBA season. It's like, wow. And I had spoken to Jamie Zavanovich, after our game, just like, is this tournament still going to go on? And they were still in the process of making that determination of maybe no fans or whatever. Everybody was
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure it out. And so, going through that, the dominoes fell, and next thing you know, they're saying that they're canceling the NCAA tournament. And at that moment, the severity, I think, it's kind of like, I look at all these, there's so many words being said, and there was so much disinformation from either side. No one really knows. But someone had told me before, is like, all you need to know how serious it is by the actions that our government and the people are taking. And just to cancel the NCAA tournament, like you said, they played it in World War II, during World War II, showed you the severity of it. But also, sports in so many ways is such a connector to the people, and such a feel good part when you're going through a crisis of sorts. It's in a pandemic, it was, losing that, you lost a little bit of piece of that happiness that people got on that selection Sunday. But obviously understanding that there's no way they could have played the games or did the tournament, so they did the right thing. But it was, seeing that tournament brought so many happy faces to so many people that you kind of miss that during such a time that people were, I think, were looking for that.
Yeah, yeah. There was a little bit of a grieving process for me to lose out on something like that. But then also, it was a wake up call that, as much as I love college basketball and the NCAA tournament, it's just not the most important thing, and it's not
No.
close to the most important thing. And now you look at, you mentioned UW Medicine and the hospital, and the first responders, and people taking care of others who are in a life or death situations. And it's a little bit of a wake up call, I think, to all of us, to remember what is most important. And I wonder how that's manifest in you. How has this? Well, what are some of the things that you're thinking about, as a result of what's going on in the world right now?
Well, as a leader, you're trying to, make sure that people that you're responsible for are well and healthy. I mean, health, it's what we have. I mean, you could be a billionaire, you could be worth all the money in the world, and something like this comes, and it just does what?
Doesn't care.
It doesn't care. And there's no name to it. There's no anything. It's just something that everybody, it affects. And so the health and wellness of the people that I'm leading and managing, very, we live in such a fast world. It's like, you're supposed to be recruiting and you're going through, like, there's so many different parts to being successful and to running a successful organization and those types of things, that those are always, I think, ingrained in us by the nature of what we do. And through such an unfortunate pandemic that we're dealing with, that the world is dealing with, the silver lining is it forced us to slow down. It took that stuff away, and it really forced you to slow down and to really be aware of what matters. And it's still people. Like, I love coaching kids. I like making a difference. I like making sure that you have an impact in their life. And then it goes back to your family. And my wife had mentioned the other day, she goes, gosh, I want it to go back to normal, but I don't want it to go back to normal because I don't want to lose the time that we're getting with you. And, you can never get that time back. And so we're using it now as an opportunity. We play games. We've been watching The Mandalorian at night as a family. We watched 2 episodes the first 2 nights, and there's only 8. So now it's like we want to slow it down. So it's only 1 episode, but they're so good. You're like, can we watch it again? We want to watch the next one. I'm able to go in our yard and shoot with my kids and really spend time with them. We're eating better. You're getting back to the basics of what really matters, and there's so much value in that. And I'm just really blessed during that time to be able to have this time. I mean, I would have been traveling all over the country, going through trying to get the next player. But I've been able to re-recruit my family and make those stronger connections. So I feel very blessed about that.
Yeah, there's always a silver lining to anything that we go through, and those are some of the silver linings to this situation. Now, I wonder how it's caused you to have to coach differently with your guys who are now, you're not able to get them physically together. You talk about guys going back to the East Coast and going back to their families, and is it we're using Zoom a lot. We're using a lot of these different tools in order to try to be productive and get work done, but one thing that I've seen being around college sports is the structure that exists, and guys are going to eat together, and they're going to be able to eat good meals, and then they're going to work out together, and they're going to get instruction and all this stuff. How has trying to oversee and help coach all those processes, how has that changed with these new challenges that you're facing?
Well, I think, one of our, culture pieces, words, whatever you want to call it, is ready for anything. And so, it's forced us to adapt, and this is what we're working with, and this is how we've got to, do better. This is how we can stay connected. This is how we can still help them grow. This is how, we can move forward. This time's also given me a lot of time to, reset and deep think about the season and moving forward and what went wrong, what went right. So those types of things. And it's also, you have the time with your family. And then, listen, I love connecting with our players. We have a 9 a.m. meeting every morning to kind of just start the day. It's a roll call. And it's funny, we had a back screen. You see my back screen right now with Nas. We had a back screen competition. I said it all had to be PG rated, but they, that was a lot of fun. And, just trying to stay connected, and, because it's our nature to want to be around our team and our families and the people. And to be honest with you, in a lot of ways, I miss it. You miss that. I'm a hugger. I miss high five, and I miss those things, but, we can still high five and hug over the Zoom. And, yeah. And so that's going to be the new norm. But you just find out more creative ways of how we can be more technologically savvy and show video on this, and where we can use it to actually teach and move forward with our student athletes.
So who won the Zoom background competition?
Gosh, who was it? Was it Nas? No, no. You know what it was? It was Riley Sorn. And Riley actually was able to, I have a picture, he was able to put video on. And if you remember the Arizona State game when there was 56 seconds to go and Elijah threw up the ball 75 feet from the basket, and it was on a loop, and it was like a meme. And I literally it gave me heartache again. Like, what just happened? But the man upstairs was looking over for us because it bounced directly to Nas on the side. But it was one of those moments that you're like, wow. And Riley's the tech savvy guy, so he won it.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. That is Troll City on number
Troll
52's
City,
part. That was awesome.
no
How did
question.
Elijah react to that?
They laugh. These guys. The part of it's like one thing that I love about our staff is they're so. Our staff's incredible, but it's like we're not corporate America. We're a family-owned business, and we hug each other, we laugh with each other, we cry together, we're excited for each other. We love to laugh. I don't think there's a staff in America that laughs more than we do, and I think that's the same thing with our players. It's one of those things where laughing is so. It brings so much positive energy, good or bad. You're just laughing, and guys are bagging on each other with their pictures. Today, Quad A, they talked about in our meeting, he had a mustache because not everybody has, no one's going to has had a haircut. So it's almost one of those things. We need to have the worst hair day, type of competition. But like he had a mustache that was going here and it wasn't connected. And Zeron just started crushing him. But, when you're willing to laugh and, the humility part of it, and we're all going through it, it just brings some enlightenment to a tough situation.
Yeah, it's so good for the soul, isn't it? And
Yeah,
and you
no
need it
question.
when times are hard. That's when you need to laugh more.
No
So
question.
so what variety do you have? You got Nas dunking on you right now. What other variety do you have in your
Well,
repertoire
let's
for
let's see
background?
let's see if I can change something here. This is an old picture of me, NCAA tournament junior year. Let me see if it comes up. Did it come up?
What? Yeah, man, you took it
Okay,
right in
okay,
the temple there.
okay.
You're bleeding.
I took it to the temple, and that was a NCAA tournament versus Kentucky, and
You literally just showed me another picture of you bleed. How many times in your college career did you bleed on the court?
well, no, this is against not against, this is against UMass.
Oh,
Excuse me.
UMass. Okay, that's the same one you
Before
showed earlier.
John Calipari, if you look at the one ESPN deal that they did on him, it was the year that it was just his coming out party. They ended up beating us to play Kentucky in the Sweet 16. We played them in Worcester, Mass, and I had fouled out, but I got an elbow by their assistant coach now, Tony Barbie at Kentucky. He elbowed me pretty hard, and so love that pick though.
Yeah, man, you
Love
look
that
tough.
pick.
You look tough in that one. And then any others that are go-tos?
Let's see. I got, what, I was going through it because I wanted to win this thing. And where am I? I love this as a patriotic piece
Oh yeah,
because
from the Alaska trip
the
against Baylor this year.
Alaska trip, I love American flags. And, wherever I'm going, I remember playing in a golf course in Wisconsin with my brother and my father, and they had this beautiful, it was a windy day, and it had this beautiful flag that was just so American. It was so patriotic. I mean, just looking at it waving in the sky, it just, it makes you so proud to be an American. And see even how our country has reacted to this. You talk about the first responders and
Mm-hmm.
the military, the doctors, the people in the day-to-day, the nurses. I mean, how courageous are they? And so I just love American flags. So let's keep this one up.
Yeah, I love that too. And not just the patriotic piece, but also the pride in school
Oh,
piece. How cool that I know a couple weeks ago they sent out emails to the athletic staff at the UW asking for volunteers to just come to the UW surplus area and take in donations from from the public, people that have masks, gloves, whatever it was, to go over to UW Medicine. And so my wife and I signed up for just one of those, and it was kind of overwhelming to see the amount of people just dropping off their own supplies to try to contribute to help people. And I don't know, I love the fact that this community is kind of rallying together, rallying around in their own way to try to support those first responders and the folks at UW Medicine.
It's all about, that's the one thing that's so incredible about the American people. I remember during 9/11, we were in New York later playing in a Thanksgiving tournament, and they had the destruction part of it, still ground zero. But watching the stories and seeing the people and how they come together to help each other is pretty remarkable. And to see the response that we got in the city of Seattle, and just like you said, Tony, going down and giving yourself, and money being raised for local businesses, people giving food to the food bank, people risking themselves to deliver. Some of the greatest stories to me are like the elderly that can't go out or are afraid of going out, and these people actually going and getting groceries and delivering it to their houses. And you see the best in the people, and just makes you proud. And this community has been just remarkable to the give back in the city. And you look at what we were the epicenter at the beginning, and we slowed it down as sooner than anybody in the country. And that's just a tribute to our doctors, medical staff, first responders, the people with social distancing. And the only thing I will say that's a little bit odd is my wife and I, we'll go do like a 3-mile walk, and the new norm is a little bit like knowing the new etiquette, and so it's like walking down this road, and then the people walking to you, and then literally these people walk across the street away, and it's kind of like is something wrong with me? And you're like, hi, how are you? But it's like separators, go that way, you go that way. But it's been intriguing for sure.
We've walked a lot too, and it's been awesome to spend that time together, to get outside together. And you're right, there's the wide swing that everybody does to avoid contact and avoid getting close. But also, I've noticed while making the wide swing, more people are saying hello.
There's no question about it. That's very true. So that's a positive thing. A lot of people are really, really friendly. And I can tell you one thing. I know what 6 feet is now. I knew where the 3-point line was. Right. I definitely know 6 feet now I definitely know that. But no question. People are more friendly. They're smiling. And, I think that everybody's really making the most of this time.
You mentioned, and I imagine all coaches reflect on the previous season at the end of every season, at least to some degree. And I know it's a 365 job where you do have to just keep pushing, then it's on to recruiting, and it's on to the off-season workouts and all that stuff. But particularly with this extra bit of downtime that we have now, what reflecting did you do on the previous season, and what did you learn about yourself coming out of the 2019-2020 campaign?
Well, I think there's so many things that I've learned. I think I've got to do a lot better job communicating. It's usually one of my strengths. I think the big thing is role definition, really being clear with the kids. We were a really young team, and when you have so much youth and so many new faces, just to understand the challenges. It was literally like, okay, we were going to do it like we did the year before. The system works, everything goes. But there was, we had to do a lot more teaching. There was a lot more things that I probably assumed too much. And you know what happens when you assume.
I've heard that.
So, those are some of the things. Quad A situation. It happened under my watch. I took full responsibility. Obviously, he has to take responsibility as well. But learned ways for that never to happen again. That was a huge impact on the program. I think there was a lot of growth to a lot of these kids, but some things that we could have done maybe earlier than be, I've always been a proactive guy,
Mhm.
and I really believe in being proactive rather than being reactive. And so there were some things that we learned that, you can only learn by experiencing, um, and reflecting and saying this is never going to happen again. And we've got to do it from the beginning. And I think when we lost quad A, it was like we had to train this new team. It was just different, and we tried a lot of things, and because it was so unexpected, we were forced into that a little bit. And played 9 guys, played 10 guys. One game played 11 guys. There wasn't any consistency. We were just trying to do what we were just trying to figure out the right recipe. I tell people all the time, it's like you get a can of Coke, it has all the ingredients on the back. Like, do we just go buy these ingredients and we can make Coca-Cola? Well, when you make a recipe, you put this in first, and then you put in this, and then you let it cool for 30 minutes, and you do
Process.
this.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's the process. And so the one thing I really learned is you can't rush the process. And I let it get frustrating for me because we had so much talent, but there was so much room to grow that I should have just stayed with the process, been consistent with that, and playing those 9, 10 guys and just trying to figure it out was against what I believe. And so before the Cal game, the coaching staff gave me some great recommendations. We talked about, I went back to your North Stars, the things that you really believe in. And I always believed in playing 8 guys and, 3 guards, 3 forwards, 2 centers, and get guys really comfortable in their role. Even if they made a mistake, I can still take them out, but they know they're going back in, rather than they might not see the light of day, which was happening. And so I think basic things like that, like really sticking to what has been proven to work for you, and has been proven over time. And um, I did learn that, staying consistent with what you really, really believe.
We've only got a few minutes left, I think, so I want to wrap this up. But what are some of the physical, tangible realities as to how you're trying to get these guys to work on their skills or strength or whatever
Yep.
with these limitations? That I mean, obviously shooting hoops on a Nerf hoop in your bedroom is not going to help, right? So there's
Eye-hand coordination, it all helps. Tony, you never played dunk hoop in your house?
I always played dunk hoop in my house, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So what are some of the things that the guys are doing in order to try to stay sharp and get ready for the next year whenever that starts?
Well, we're actually not allowed to, hold them accountable on any of their workout stuff. We
Mhm.
can't. There's a lot of NCAA rules during this time. The biggest thing that we focused on, most importantly, is the academic piece. Learning remotely and being in your home and doing those things, there's a lot of different challenges. That's a whole new thing. So first and foremost, we're able to get in these Zoom meetings and uh, class check. It's been really cool. We've been able to go in there. Hey, how's it going? And were they on time? All the things that we're checking out. The physical stuff, our strength coach Todd Tukin does a great job of giving examples. He has his little YouTube channel and shows himself. I haven't seen it yet, but what you do at home, from using the stairs to doing push-ups with books or whatever it may be. If you don't have some of the resources, we were allowed to send them bands, rollers, and we've given them plans. We just can't hold them accountable to it. So it's one of
Mhm.
those things where we're just talking to them, making sure do they have any questions, talking to them about mechanics and form, and those types of things. And we just keep staying connected and reinforcing the importance. Meredith Price is incredible. She's our nutritionist, and every morning she'll give like a presentation for about a minute to two about the importance of breakfast or eating, or you know drinking water. Let me ask you, Tony, how many ounces of water should you drink a day? Do you know?
Well, I don't know what the answer is. I try to drink close to a gallon, but that's harder when you're out of your routine.
And so her biggest thing is routine, and so her thing is half your body weight should be the amount of ounces that you drink in a day. She had a great piece on LeBron James the other day about why he's been able to sustain for so many years, and obviously he's a freak in nature, but his routines that he's built, from how he eats to how he rests and sleeps to how he takes care of his body, showed a video to our guys, and really trying to just keep reinforcing the routine and schedule and motivation, those types of things on a day-to-day basis. That's really what we can do, and we are on it every day.
Well, it's very uncertain times, but the one thing I know, any video that Todd Tukin makes, his form is going to be impeccable, right? Like, I mean, that's going to be
Yeah,
the go back to P90X and Tony Horton. That form is everything, and I know
yeah,
Todd Tukin's got it, so your guys are going to have it too.
yes, no question. He better.
Hey, Coach, it's really great to see you. It's great to catch up with you. I will relish the opportunity we have to connect in person and handshake or hug or whatever. But in the meantime, these are great conversations, and I really appreciate you being a part of the Wednesday conversation.
You're the best, Tony. Great talking to you. Stay safe.